Hello, this is Nat Williams, and I thank you so much for joining us tonight for the first episode of the Navigating Your Life show. We will venture to present information and solutions to the challenges of everyday life, always focusing on encouragement, enlightenment, and empowerment. We want this show to be a lens and a conduit that will be directed to building up ourselves, our families, and our communities. And tonight's attempt will be to build up all three of those. Our topic for tonight's show is supporting our troops and their families. Don't ask, just do. The men and women in the military make such great sacrifices in order to serve our country. They are often stationed overseas, away from their families for extended periods of time. And when they return from a combat mission, it can be difficult to transition back into everyday life. There are so many things we as Americans can do to support our troops and their families. So later, we'll be talking in more detail about the idea of don't ask, just do. With me in the studio today are Megan Spencer, whose husband Andrew is currently stationed in Afghanistan, and Nikki Lewandowski, whose husband returned to Afghanistan on January 11th. So welcome, Megan and Nikki. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Wonderful. So let's start with you first, Megan. I understand you and your husband have been married for 2 years, and this is the first time that he's been deployed. Tell us a little bit about how that experience has been for you with him being away.
It's been hard. My family's here to support me. They've been really great and helpful. I work. I'm trying to go back to school. I joined the gym recently. I've been just keeping busy with my family and my friend Nikki, so we've just been getting through it together. Just
elaborate a little bit more when you say it's been hard. What has been hard?
Just getting back into a daily routine without him here. We had a routine where we used to live in Washington, and we had a routine there, and now coming back here and just being alone, it's hard to get back into a daily routine without your spouse with you.
Wonderful. And you two have a friendship which is really wonderful. And Nikki, you can share with us, as I'm sure you would share with Megan, your husband just came back, and you, after being deployed, and you were able to embrace him in a special kind of way as putting together a homecoming. Would you tell us what that homecoming was like?
Yes, my husband came home a couple weeks ago, and he had mentioned he didn't want anything special, but it was special to me and our family, and I invited all of us to the airport, and everyone held little American flags, and my son ran up to Daddy, gave him a huge hug, and it was a really special moment for everyone.
And I think a lot of times we don't recognize how important those homecomings are. I think we've all seen some stuff on YouTube where kids have been surprised when their father comes home and the father goes to the kid's school, and those things are very important. So I think that's wonderful that you did that. I had the opportunity to visit with Nikki and her husband, Army Specialist Matt Lewandowski, and their two beautiful children a few days before he recently left. I had the opportunity to visit with Nikki and her husband, Army Specialist Matt Lewandowski, a few days before he left. It was wonderful to watch Matt enjoying some playtime with his son. Later, he offered some insight into the challenges of military life. You mentioned family, and I know you have two children, Josh and Lily, that are with us today. What has the impact been on them?
You know what? I've been surprised. You know, they are young yet, and Josh has really shown a lot of resiliency as far as, when I came home, he kind of ran with just being normal, like I never left. And it really made me feel good. That was the biggest thing I was worried about.
Matt, what would you say is the most difficult part about transitioning back home after military service?
When you're deployed, you have to have a different mindset. It's not even necessarily that your adrenaline is running all the time. You're just more alert. You have to pay attention to little things. There's a lot of explosions all the time. I mean, and coming back, I don't even know how to say it. It's a weird feeling that you don't feel like, you still kind of feel like you have to watch your back, and you don't have to. And it's weird being around people that aren't dressed just like you, and you pay attention to a lot of noises that you're used to hearing explosions, like I said, and anything that a door slamming or anything that sounds remotely like that, you still want to not necessarily jump, but you pay attention to it. You notice a lot more things that people who haven't been over there, obviously, it doesn't bother them.
Nikki, thank you so much for opening your home and allowing us to visit with you. Your husband and your children were a delight to spend some time with. But as you think about what would make it easier for a person transitioning back, what are some things that families could do to make that transition easier?
From the little bit of experience from him being home, it's very important to make sure that you're aware of their surroundings and their senses, because they're not used to being home, and certain things can make them feel uncomfortable. And if you're aware of that, you can try to make sure that those things don't occur, or at least help them through it and be there for them.
Give us an example of a sense that you would want to be sensitive to so as not to overload them when they come back home.
Well, the first night my husband was home, his father took us all out to dinner, and it was a little too loud and a little too crowded for him. He wasn't used to being around that many people, and it made him very uncomfortable, and we almost left immediately after entering the restaurant. He just wasn't comfortable with it at all.
Wow. So being sensitive to that and understand it's about him, not about you.
Yes,
wow.
yes.
So Megan, what are some of your concerns as you think about your husband coming back and transitioning back? What are some of the things that you want to make sure are in place so that the transition goes smoothly?
I'm hoping that we don't really have any, troubles with him transitioning back into normal life. But at the same time, if those things do happen, I will be there to support him in whatever he needs, and we'll get him the help that he needs if he can't handle the situations back home.
In your contact with other military wives and other military families, what have they told you the experience has been like? Because you guys are relatively young in your journey as a military family. What have others told you?
Right. Other families, they've been through this before, because a lot of the people we do know are older, have been in the military longer than what we have, and they've experienced stuff already. They just told us, just to be supportive of our husbands and to do, what's best for them. And it's hard sometimes to put others before yourself, but at the same time, he needs that more than anything.
Wow. Nikki, what have you heard?
Pretty much just like what Megan said. You have to support them, but take things as they come. There's no knowing what's going to happen, how they're going to feel when they come home, because you might expect them to come home and be one way, and they can come back completely different from how they even left.
Right.
And you just have to help them through what they've been through and be there for them and be a loving wife.
Wow. And our viewers, what can they do? They're made up of your friends, your families, and just the plain old community. If you had an opportunity to tell them what they could do to be supportive of your loved ones who are serving in the military, Megan, why don't we start with you? What would you say, what would you ask them to do?
My family, my friends have all been really supportive, but there are some days where I just don't want to do anything, and I feel sometimes people just try to get you to do stuff, and sometimes you just want to be left alone. There's not really I can't even explain it really. It's just like a feeling that I just want to talk to him sometimes, and there's times where I just kind of want to be alone and just deal with it on my own.
Wow. Nikki, what would you say you'd ask people to do? I understand Megan says, give me a little space, let me breathe a little bit, and that's okay. I'm going to still be okay. What would you say, Nikki?
As far as supporting the troops and everything, I'm not really sure.
Okay. So one of the things that I picked up from my visit with some of the military was just, and I think Megan's point would concur with this, is just be there.
Yes.
And you don't have to sometimes talk, but just to know that you're there and available for someone else. Megan, since your husband's going to be coming back from deployment, we wanted to give you something special. And so we worked with Cove Haven Resorts, and they're giving you a 4-day, 3-night stay for you and your husband to enjoy when he returns.
Thank you so much. That is so nice. It's our anniversary, so that'd be really perfect.
Wonderful. So Nikki, not to leave you out, I understand you have a little challenge when it comes to a car. Would you share with us what that challenge has been?
Right when my husband deployed in July, my kids and I drove here, and about 3 weeks later, somebody hit me and ran, and it totaled my car.
Wow.
And my kids and I have been walking to the grocery store and to wherever we had to go since August.
Right. One of the things that I've learned in putting this show together over the last week is that when we see something that's wrong, our goal is to do something about it. And so in line with that, we reached out to Faulkner Chevrolet, and they have been kind enough to work with us to provide you with a new car. It's not brand new, but it's reliable and it works. We want to know if you'd like to go see the car.
I would.
Okay,
Thank
fine.
you so much.
So you're more than welcome, and we'll do that during our break, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to experience personal success in all 8 domains of life? Then join Dr. Nat Williams for the Absolutes of Success Weekend Transformation Program at Tucson, Arizona, and achieve your greatest potential. Registration includes a 2-night stay with meals at the beautiful Westward Look Resort. Register today, only $6.99, or register with a friend and pay only $9.99 with shared room. Call 1-800-810-3683 or visit absolutesofsuccess.com.
This week's adoption highlight features Alex. Alex is 16 and would love to be adopted by a supportive and caring family. Alex is friendly, charming, and has a wonderful sense of humor. He loves video games, card games, and of course talking to girls. He's in 10th grade and he is passionate about sports, especially basketball and football. Alex wants to go to college and he's willing to work hard to reach his goals. If Alex is of interest to you, please contact callen@adopt.org or visit the website www.adopt.org and let us know of your interest. Thank you.
Enrich your life at Sacred Heart Villa, situated atop Mount St. Michael on 40-plus scenic acres. Our caring staff includes missionary sisters and on-site licensed nurses 24/7. We offer medical reminders as well as dispensing medication and transportation to medical appointments. With excellent food, fun events, a spacious hall, safe rooms, and much more, your life will be enriched. Call 610-929-5751 or go to sacredheartvilla-readingpa.org.
Welcome back. They are such wonderful ladies, and I hope they both enjoyed being with us today. It was truly my honor to spend some time with them and their families. Now that we've taken some time to examine the family life of military personnel, let's take some time to hear what's on the mind of enlisted men and women. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit a Marine Corps Reserve Center during a training weekend. I spoke one-on-one with several reservists and active duty Marines about their experiences, and here's what they had to say. What is the rewarding part of serving in the military?
The most rewarding part of being in the military to me is knowing everyone that came before me and I can uphold their legacy.
Well, being active duty, I've had many rewards such as traveling, camaraderie, support not only for me but for my family.
I would definitely say the camaraderie, and you get to experience things that other people don't. You get to travel, and it's just a very good way to open your eyes and meet new people from all around the country.
I'd have to say the honor and the respect and the distinction you get in serving your country.
The military is not your only job. What have you found to be the biggest challenge upon your return from reserve duty to your place of employment?
I think the biggest challenge is no longer being under a sergeant or someone else that's a civilian in charge of you, so they run things a little differently.
In the Marine Corps, we're real high-paced. We like to get things done, so you have to transition back in the civilian world and know you're dealing with civilians.
Well, coming home, the economy was not so good, So I was actually looking for a new job, and that was difficult for me to find work, even though I had the military experience.
What do you think is the hardest part of transitioning from a combat situation to life in the United States?
My biggest challenge coming home from Iraq is definitely the little things. You miss out on a lot. It's kind of like life is continuing. People are having kids, getting married, getting divorced, dying, and you have to play catch up when you get home. And things have changed. We came home to a new president and the economy, so it's pretty much catching up to everything you missed.
Probably the hardest part for me was a change in mindset from that heightened state of mind to a more relaxed state. But being active duty, I had a much easier time because the Marine Corps has several support programs and programs also for my family, which I was able to have access to. Also, with all my Marines, all the Marines that returned with me, we all kind of went through the transition together, which made it a lot easier and more smooth transition.
I would have to say always being vigilant. We're very high paced in the Marine Corps. We have to watch each other's back every day. And when you get home, you have to watch each other's back even more to make sure everyone's doing well and adjusting.
I understand that there's a difference with respect to the experience that an active duty person experiences versus a reservist. Would you please tell us what those differences may be?
Sure. In my experience, the experience that an active duty Marine and a reserve Marine have while deployed is very, very different. I deployed both as a reservist and as an active duty member. As a reservist, all the same support structure is there, but the community support is much different. I felt a lot different when I came back as a reservist because I didn't have anyone that I could relate to. I couldn't talk to people about my experiences. I came home and a lot of the other Marine reservists that I deployed with went back to their jobs and tried to transition back into their life. But I didn't have that camaraderie that I had before. I was kind of on my own. Whereas as an active duty Marine, I could go back with my unit. I go back to my regular routine, and it's not nearly as much of a difficult transition, in my opinion.
What could I, as a member of the community, do to better support reservists as well as active duty? But let's take reservists. What could I do to better support them?
Really, for the families, the best thing that the community can do is just be there for them. Let them know that they're there to help and help them.
Those men and women are entrusted to the care of leaders. And we have three of them with us today: Staff Sergeant Richard Holland, Sergeant Gavin Whitehead, both of the Marine Corps, and Ms. Heather Fiedler of the Tobyhanna Army Depot. And so first, let's start with Sergeant Holland. How can Americans best support those who serve in the military?
One of the best things that people can do is don't ask, just do. They just take the initiative. If they know that their neighbors, for instance, need their snow shoveled or their lawn mowed, just take the initiative and go ahead and do that. If you know that there's a situation that your neighbor may be in, if you know that they're struggling with the bills or food, cook a meal, invite them over to dinner. You don't want to alienate them and make them feel like that they're being a hinder, and you also don't want to remind them every day of the stresses that they're going through with their loved one being deployed. So I would say the best thing to do would be just to take the initiative and do whatever it is that you have in mind.
Sure. And one of the things that I've picked up in my limited exposure to people in the military is that you guys are very prideful people. So if I come over with my shovel and I start shoveling your property, how do you think that's going to go with some people that take pride in being able to take care of their own? You see that as being something that will go over smoothly because they will appreciate what you're doing, or that there may be some kickback because you're going into their space and helping them out?
I think with the general things, the snow has to get shoveled.
Sure.
The lawn needs to be mowed. It's more of a help. I don't think that most people would really have a problem with that, unless they have a golf course or something to that effect. You may not want to touch their lawn, but sure. For the most part, it would probably be a welcome gesture.
Sure. And I think you would agree, just don't limit your fears to helping someone. Just go ahead and offer the help and deal with it after you've offered it, and you'll be surprised with the outcome.
Absolutely.
Sure. And next we want to ask Mrs. Fiedler, what does the Army and really the armed services have to offer for families?
Across the United States, there is what is called Army Community Service at most military installations, and every branch of service has a unique social service agency. At Tobyhanna Army Depot, we have an ACS with 12 core programs that offers assistance to family members as well as service members, and not only through the deployment cycle, but throughout their military careers.
Do you think this is something that is known by every person that needs to know that these services exist?
Unfortunately, I do not. So we spend a lot of our time at Tobyhanna trying to get the word out through civilian agencies, through other military agencies, as well as the service members themselves.
Sure. Let's say I know someone that's experiencing some challenges as a family or as a person that was enlisted. What would I tell them to do if they were going to go back to the military for some support? How would I direct them, and where would I direct them to?
Their primary stopping point would be Army Community Service at any Army installation, and then the other social service agencies at the other installations.
Right. So there's help there?
Yes, there is.
And I think that I also gleaned from my conversations with military people this weekend when I had a chance to visit is that you take pride in taking care of your own. So your people that have served should want for nothing as long as they're able to communicate that to people.
Correct, and we do take pride. Those of us that are doing the work, we love doing the work and want to help in any way that we can.
Right. And I think one of your former secretaries of defense said, you don't know what you don't know. So if you do know it, you can do something about it.
Correct.
So that's wonderful. And next we have Sergeant Whitehead. And you want to tell us a little bit more about what is done for the actual enlisted or reservist to support them.
To support them whenever they return from either a deployment or an exercise. We have many things set in place, like we've got chaplain services, communities, Marine Corps community services, morale, welfare, and recreation to help, transition them into a more relaxed environment. But there's also great programs out there like Military One Source. They are an organization that not only helps the Marine Corps, but all branches of service in regards to, anything from getting counseling to gym memberships to auto insurance to, they are like a one-stop shop for anything and everything that you may possibly need an assistance in as a military member.
So again, that same philosophy that there's supports there, you just have to tap into them.
Yes, and as leaders, they try to have us learn as much as we possibly can, so that way we are better to educate our people underneath us.
Before we wrap up, are there any other thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers?
I have just one other thing. I think one of the important things to remember is the service member is returning from a stressful time in his life, his or her life, coming back to the world that they left behind. And flooding with questions about what they've been through may not be the best course of action at all. All the time. Let them open up to you when they're ready to open up to you, and that is the best advice I can really give to family members and friends for returning veterans. Is just let them work through this in their own mind, and they'll come to you when they're ready to come to you.
Well, very good. Well, thank you so much, Staff Sergeant Holland and Sergeant Whitehead, as well as Ms. Fiedler. We appreciate you joining us today to give us some more information about how we can support people in the military and their families.
The Banana Factory is Lehigh Valley's premier community cultural arts center, promoting and sharing visual arts with everyone. This outreach educational center features a clay studio where students learn the art of ceramics with some of the region's most renowned artists. The Lehigh Valley's only hot glass studio, promoting the art of glass blowing and the glass making process. The Olympus Digital Imaging Center, where students learn the art of digital photography and much more. Come experience the world of art at the Banana Factory. Call 610-332-1300.
As we all know, the job market is difficult to penetrate. Please look at the short resume on the screen and contact the email address below if this person's skills is of interest to you or your company. Let's help them get back into the saddle.
Are you ready to experience personal success in all 8 domains of life? Then join Dr. Nat Williams for the Absolutes of Success Weekend Transformation Program at Tucson, Arizona, and achieve your greatest potential. Registration includes a 2-night stay with meals at the beautiful Westward Look Resort. Register today, only $6.99, or register with a friend and pay only $9.99 with shared room. Call 1-800-810-3683 or visit absolutesofsuccess.com.
When caring about someone becomes caring for someone, there's help at your beck and call. For over 12 years, Beck and Call's in-home caregivers have been providing assistance with the activities of daily living, everything from mealtime to bathing, or just being there when you can't be. Being at home is important to them. Give them flexible assisted living services that come right to the door. Gain peace of mind. Call Beck and Call today at 570-426-7507. We look forward to your family becoming part of ours.
I sincerely hope today's show has been enlightening and encouraging and empowering for you. Our troops make such great sacrifices to serve, and there are so many ways that we can support them and their families. Troops stationed overseas want to be able to take comfort in the knowledge that their families are taken care of back home. So when it comes to supporting families, their friends and neighbors should stop asking and just do. Hence the subtitle of today's show, Just Do, Don't Ask. I've learned in life that I have to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. There's a list of resources related to today's show on our website, navigatingyourlifeshow.com. And while you're there, you can also email your comments about today's show and share any ideas for future shows. Thank you for spending time with us this evening. We recognize that time is as the most precious thing we can share. I'm looking forward to having you join us next week when we'll be discussing blended families. I wish you the very best.